what is going to happen to the Calgary housing market this summer. I'm hoping to shed a little bit of light on that. First, an introduction. My name is Tom Albrecht. I own the A team at Remax First, along with my wife, Breanna Albrecht. She sells houses. She's a top producer. I help people buy houses. It's about making sure we secure properties in this market, and in other types of markets, about making sure we get the best possible deal. So we've got lots of experience doing that. I also have a master's in economics from Oxford University, and I'm hoping to help you, give you some free information here, which you can enjoy and use as you see fit. First, a disclaimer: I have no idea what's going to happen in the future. So the opinion is very much split, I think. When you poll realtor colleagues, there's a large group very optimistic for prices, and there's another group, probably a bit smaller, who tend to believe that this is all just part of the cycle and Calgary's been here before. So, quick introduction, I guess get you up to date as to sort of what's happened so far. Well, going into the pandemic, nobody really had a clue what was going to happen to housing markets in the West generally. But what ended up happening is there was a greater demand for residential properties because people were spending more time at home, right, with work from home, and commercial has suffered, as well as people want a little bit more space, right? So they're living, working amongst their family, so looking for a few more square feet. There's also more remote work generally, so people don't need to be right near their workplace. So we've seen a move in Calgary, for example, over the last 2 years, from the city centre into the suburbs, and we have been seeing more recently, we'll say in the last 4 or 5 months, quite a lot of people actually moving to Calgary but remaining employed where they are coming from. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But there was a lot of homes that didn't get listed, that would have got listed in the first year of the pandemic back in March 2019, March, April, May, and they just never got listed. And after the first couple of months of sort of like people fearing the future, the housing market really started getting going because of the things that I just mentioned, and supply has never really caught up. Of course, interest rates have been super low for the last couple of years, and so prices have gone through the roof. There's been bidding wars, etc., all across the world actually. Now, Calgary didn't really see that until last winter. January, February is always a low time for inventory, and it just, there wasn't anything out there. Lots of people buying houses, so prices were a bit up a little bit. Let's say the average single family home, single detached home, increased in value by about $50,000 last winter. This winter, it became apparent sort of August, September, we're starting looking around and we're seeing inventories falling for seasonal reasons, but it's mapping lower than the previous year. So it became pretty obvious to us that prices were going to go up pretty rapidly, again in those winter months. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. Really around Christmas time, it started. And then January, February, we saw rapid increase in values. Breanna just sold a listing in Mahogany for 1.2 million. The person bought for 875 back in 2017. So that gives you a sense. Now, not every house in Calgary has gone up $300,000, but depending where you are, there have been some pretty rapid increases, especially in the last couple of months. When we started talking to that seller in January, the estimates of value based on recent sales were right around that million mark, right? Million 50. And all of a sudden, boom, 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 a lot of people moving to town, no inventory, etc. Question is, what happens next, right? So, well, the last month has been a bit different. So March has been a little bit more steady. Still lots of multiples. I've been in the last 7 transactions I've written. I was in, or last 7 offers I've written, I was in multiples with each one, against either up from 1 to 7 different sets of buyers. So not the crazy 40, 50 offers per listing that we saw sometimes in January, February. A little bit more tempered demand. I beat them all. Sort of by $5,000 or minus $5,000. Sometimes we win even though ours isn't the best offer from a price perspective. So anyway, that's a whole other thing. So it was busy. I was writing a lot of business, winning, but it wasn't as competitive as we had seen in January, February. So there is a little bit of sitting inventory now, right? January, February, there wasn't anything sitting. Now we've got a bit of stock in most parts of the market. And demand, while it's up month on month, over a month, it's not as crazy relative to say last March and the March before. Well, March before is different. Last March as February was compared to last February. And so why is demand coming off? Well, interest rates are rising, right? So also prices are higher now. So affordability is a bit of a problem. Choice has been a bit of a problem. So sales aren't as extreme as they were. Are prices still rising? Absolutely. There's a ratio we look at in real estate, which is the number of listings divided by how many are selling per month. It gives us a number. And in January, February, it was like 2 weeks was the ratio, I suppose. You divide one by the other. Right now, it's about a month for most property types in Calgary. That's actually really consistent, right up to 2 million. But we need it to be like 3 or 4 before prices really stop rising. And so while that number is increasing, prices are still rising because it's below that 4 months of inventory that we look for. Here's other ratios that we're keeping an eye on as well. What's happened in March? Well, we've started to see, because I think detached homes have gone up so much, people are starting to move into townhomes. They're thinking about apartments. There's a lot of investors around now. So people from out of town, people within town thinking, oh, maybe now's the time to purchase an extra one. And so the action has moved to the city centre as well, or I should say it's spread to the city centre as well. It's spread to apartments. So it's quite a wide demand is quite broad, I would say, and busy right up to, we'll say, 2 million as well. So people moving up still and the rest of it. So that's where we're at right now. Interest rates have gone up a lot in the last couple of months. So people's pre-approvals at those low rates are going to be expiring in the next month or so, or month or two. And then over the summer, pre-approvals from last week are going to be expiring because people usually have 3 or 4 months. So how big is that impact going to be on demand? And is that going to, like, what price for all properties in Calgary, what price is the price that balances supply and demand, right? And so we don't know. As I mentioned, a lot of my colleagues, I think this is it. We're joining the wealthy world of Vancouver, Toronto, and other global cities. We've got a lot of immigration coming to Canada. Those places are unaffordable. People are going to be moving here, whether they're working locally or remotely. So there's this great belief that maybe we see a pause in the summer and then off we go to the races. And then there's another group who says, well, no, we've seen this before. It's cyclical. Interest rates are going to kill it. And we know that interest rates have a huge impact on real estate prices, right? So on demand, therefore, prices. So it's really hard to know. Of course, we've got oil as well. We've got some geopolitical, we'll call them issues. So there's been an oil price shock. Is that going to be a longer term thing, or is that just going to be this couple months, right? So there's lots of questions. If you have questions about your home, you have one maybe to sell or a couple to sell, if you're just thinking about moving around and changing your mix, if you're thinking about purchasing an investment, feel free to give us a call. It's always depends on your risk aversity. It depends on your view of the future, right? You're going to get that information from a lot of people. I might be one of them. I'm certainly not going to bias that information. I'm not really going to be too strong, I don't think, on opinion a lot of the time when it comes to the market. But when it comes to your personal situation, I can definitely help. We've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of transactions between myself and Breanna. She's often selling homes. I'm often helping those same people purchase properties as well in the market. So we know that market well. We price houses really accurately, so you have a good sense of what you're going to get for your home, or what we should bid for homes, and we'll tailor make that advice for you. So sorry this was a long report, but hopefully you saw right to the end, and in which case, well done, and we'll see you next month. It'll be a shorter report next month because we'll just be doing the 30 days there. So have yourself a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.